Welcome to There's a Method to the Madness. My name is Rob Maxwell. I'm an exercise physiologist and personal trainer. I'm the owner of Maxwell's Fitness Programs, and I've been in business for the past 28 years. Today we have a special guest on here. As you know, I've done a couple different interviews, and today I'm going to interview my neighbor. He's been next to me here at Maxwell's for 11 years now, and he's been back here longer than me. And his name is Shelby Creech, and he owns MuSool, and he instructed my daughter for a little bit. And we're going to talk a little bit about what he does and how he stays motivated in the industry and why he feels like it is so needed in today's environment with obesity and maybe lack of discipline or whatever, however he wants to word it. So without further ado, let me introduce Shelby. Hello, Shelby.
Howdy. Greetings and salutations. How are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
I'm doing well.
So tell everybody a little bit about your business model, your ultimately what you do and how long you've been doing it and all that.
All right. So like you mentioned earlier, I'm owner of MuSool Martial Arts, and we teach hybrid martial art. We do have a Taekwondo program for the kids, and we do teach traditional Taekwondo along with sport Taekwondo, and we add in some takedowns and throws from Hapkido, which is the other martial art that I instruct. Also in the Hapkido program, we started adding Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. In fact, that's where I was coming from now, is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu school. So I go and I train with those guys 2 or 3 times a week, and they have an affiliate school down in Vero Beach, which is about 2 hours south of us, and I head down there and train with them. There's a real high-ranking master down there to help with the jiu-jitsu part of my martial arts training. The Hapkido traditionally was a lot of throwing and takedowns and stuff like that, and a little bit of the ground. And I've seen over the years with the rise of the UFC and YouTube, there's a lot of YouTube black belts out there, the importance of learning how to get to your feet from the ground. So for me, my number one goal at MuSool Martial Arts is self-defense. We're not an overly big competition school. However, we have placed people on the world team in Taekwondo and world military team as well. And we've had students compete in Korea and Turkey and Germany. I was on the national team in '93. Originally, when I got into the martial arts, I was a doughy little 12-year-old boy that was getting his backside handed to him every day in the neighborhood, and I needed something for confidence. And this was about '85, and Karate Kid came out in '84, so naturally I saw the Karate Kid and kind of looked at martial arts tournaments as a means of self-defense, which is not 100% accurate. There's sport martial arts, whether it be jiu-jitsu, judo, taekwondo, karate, and then there's self-defense martial arts, whether it be the same martial arts I just mentioned. And my Hapkido program especially, because we do a little bit older kids and adults, and that we really want to work on what if you get attacked in the back alley? How do you defend yourself? And self-defense means a whole different type of workout than the sport part. So that's our number one goal. We have a very bad business model, and the fact that if I want to get rich, I guess I'd sell ice cream and pizza. But about 1% make black belt. In a world where everyone wants to be a black belt, there's schools around town that if you pay your monthly dues and you pay your testing fees, you get your black belt in 3 years or less guaranteed. At our school is you show up, attendance, you have the proper attitude. You come in, you wear your gi or your dobak, whatever you want to call it. It's dobak in Korean, gi in Japanese, and we kind of do different types of martial arts, so they kind of go hand in hand.
Is that the clothing, like the white, robe, like Joanna, my daughter, went to Shelby, and I'll get to that in a second. But
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's the uniform.
Okay.
And you bow in and you say yes sir, no sir to the instructors that want to hear yes sir, no sir, and yes and no for people like me. I'm not big on the sir, yes sir type of martial arts. I'm big on look me in the eye and say yes or no, kind of real world stuff. If you're talking to your grandfather or whatever, yes, it should be a yes sir or a no sir. Or you're talking to a police officer, it's a yes sir or no sir. But for
If you're smart.
if you're smart, yeah, it's not I pay your salary. They love to hear that here.
Yeah.
So so I'm big into respect, but not the over the top Marine. I'm not training Marines. However, we have had a lot of black belts go into the military, some for competition and some for to be a warrior. I just actually one of my instructors next door, that instructor for me for 3 years, he just became a Marine this past week and got married.
Nice.
So big
Good
changes.
week.
Yeah, good week for him. Yeah. So going back, so if you have the attendance and you have the attitude, the aptitude will come. And it's kind of like a byproduct of attendance and attitude. And we have some students that have perfect attendance and a bad attitude, and a good aptitude even, because they do show up, but they don't follow the code like they should. They don't move up in belts.
Right.
We have some students that they do really good here and they're good at home, but they go to school and they spaz out, and the teacher has to sign off on their testing, and so that might prevent them from testing.
So the teacher signs off on the testing for you.
Yes.
So they have to show, oh, that's good.
The
That's
parent
great
as well.
discipline.
Yeah, parent and teacher has to
Nice.
sign off.
And that's to move up each belt?
Yes.
Each? Okay.
Especially in our Taekwondo program where we have a lot of little kids.
Mm-hmm.
The adults, we don't make the spouse sign off on.
Maybe you should.
Maybe we should, yes. So about 1% make black belt. And out of the 1% that make black belt, the 1% make black belt, we'll put them in a category, and there's 100 of them. Maybe 3 will make a second degree or third degree. So I tell the students there are 2 types of people here. There's students that train in the martial arts, which means they come, they train for a set period of time, they learn some skills, they're able to defend themselves intelligently, and then they move on. And of course, it deteriorates your knowledge, skills. It deteriorates because your mind's a muscle, and if you don't work it out and you get that muscle memory, it's going to deteriorate. But you still have a better than average chance in a street fight if you know some basic self-defense,
Right.
even if it's not.
It only makes sense.
Right. And then we have martial artists that are lifetime. I've been doing it since '85. I don't think I've ever stopped. There was 7 weeks where I couldn't work out during the COVID, and I was going crazy. I was still researching things and in my backyard working on different
Right.
techniques and stuff, but training with other people just wasn't there. And
That's right. We couldn't.
Yeah, that was dark times.
It was.
Hopefully they do not return.
I agree. We were in there together.
Yes.
So my daughter it was Hapkido, correct?
Yes, she did.
And you were really big on teaching self-defense with that. So talk a little bit about that with the girls, with the females. I think it's such a great idea.
I think, it doesn't matter what gender you are. I think self-defense is important for everybody. And I think we would have a lot less trauma in the world, or trauma in the world, if everyone did train some basic knowledge in self-defense. Girls are very important to learn self-defense, and then you have the argument, well, if a guy attacks a little girl, so the girl weighs 125 pounds and the guy weighs 225, so you're looking at 100 pounds, can the girl defend herself? Defense, yes. Can the girl beat him in a fight? Maybe. It depends on the girl, I guess, but self-defense is different than fighting. And this is another thing I tell my students: I don't teach you how to fight. The only people I teach to fight is when we have a military contract. We teach to fight because they're warriors and they need to fight. Police officers, to a certain extent, most of theirs are self-defense as well, but we do teach some of the more, here's what you need to do if your back's against the wall. And then with our regular students, we teach self-defense. All right, someone's attacking you, your number one goal is to get away. That's your number one goal. It's not to sit there and fight.
Right.
You're not a police officer. You're not military. It's to break the hold, get out of there. Now, if you need to punch them in the nose first, that may. We had a girl named Lisa, and she made it all the way up to orange belt, and she had to quit. She got cancer, and she was at the hospital where she gets her chemo done, and she's getting into a car, and she puts her key into the lock, which when she told me the story, I was like, who doesn't have automatic locks now? Well, I have a Jeep now that doesn't have automatic locks, so I feel her pain. But she's putting her key in to the door, and a guy grabs her from behind.
This is at the hospital.
In the parking lot.
Wow.
And she had noticed him, which is part of self-defense, is being, able. So she saw him following up, so she should have went back inside. But she chose to go to her car, get in her car, and leave. But the guy grabbed her from behind, and she turned around and she did a palm heel strike to the nose, and then ran back inside. Was that self-defense? Absolutely. Was that what she trained for? Absolutely. And she made it. I mean, Orange Belt is probably 7 months worth of training, so not a whole lot of training there, but enough to have the confidence to defeat a guy that's trying to drag her somewhere. Once they leave the garage, it's his game, not hers.
So why is it to the nose? What is impactful about that works in self-defense better than, say, the jaw or the eye or the cheek or?
The eyes are a good target.
Okay.
They're small, but they're a good target. But you hit a good palm heel to the nose. The eyes are going to water. Mm-hmm. The nose is going to start running. Mm-hmm. You may or may not break the nose. Nose is cartilage. It's not really bone. You're not going to shove it into the brain. Right. There's been arguments about that forever. I don't think you can shove nose cartilage into the brain. And if you can, it's like 1 in a billion chance. So I'm not. But if you hit someone in the nose, good solid hit.
I mean, just as you're describing it makes me kind of like, yeah. So I mean, I never thought of that, but like as you're describing it makes me think, oh wow, that would really startle you.
Yeah.
Drop you potentially.
And if you really want to be mean, yeah. And then if it doesn't drop him, you hit him once to the nose, and then you go back and you hit the eyes,
right,
for good measure, and maybe one to the throat, because a throat strike is another one that
like
just
quiver here.
is another that.
Is there any truth to the shin?
Yeah, have you ever seen my shins? Like they are so messed up.
Yeah. And I remember Cedric, who worked with you, had,
yeah,
really tough shins. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there truth to like, for self-defense, a shin blow will drop somebody?
It depends on the shin. Like if it's the guy that trains Muay Thai that's used to kicking bamboo trees,
right, like Cedric.
Yeah, you're gonna kick that shin and probably break your foot.
Right.
But the average, the average person, the average martial artist, just someone that has no self-discipline or whatsoever, that's trained martial arts for 3 months, they know enough not to pick on people. Right. Like that's the one thing that martial arts taught me. And I'm 6'5" almost 6'5", 280 pounds this morning.
Yeah, I've never seen you small.
Yeah, you didn't see me as a 3-year-old.
No.
So the one thing it's taught me is you don't want to mess with people, because you don't know. I've seen people that doughy, looks like they would be a champion of a pie eating contest, that just can use their weight. And there was a guy on the Taekwondo circuit when I trained named Todd Tatami. He's deceased now. He died of a heart attack, but he was the size of that door. I mean, 300 and some odd pounds, probably just under 6 foot, but he could move like he was 125 pounds. And he had a spin heel kick that put people to sleep. He hit me so hard once that he hit me in the spine so hard once that my legs buckled.
Wow.
And if you look at him, you're like, well, it's just some fat guy, but you don't know what. And then there's the people that are $125, that are compact, muscular, they look like an anatomy chart, and they're so fast that I get caught by those guys more than I get caught by the heavyweights.
I'm sure. I mean, I would imagine that's, yeah.
So, there's less to hold on to.
Yeah.
And, I can punt them. And when I throw them, when I throw them, it's a good throw. You throw a heavyweight, it's hard, it's ugly. But the lightweights, you can toss them. But if they get a hold of an arm, they just have a way of sticking to you, or getting on the inside and getting those punches in.
So you and I really, we share a passion for what we do. And as I talk a lot about on this podcast, we have such an obesity crisis in this country. How is the martial arts a really good defense, lack of a better word, of obesity? I believe in it. I think it helps, like you said, discipline. And so speak on that a little bit about kids.
My favorite thing to hear from an adult is, I'm going to join your school as soon as I get in shape. That's like saying, well, I'm going to join first grade as soon as I learn my addition.
Right.
Or my letters,
Right.
Just doesn't make sense to me. Martial arts in general, and it depends on the type of martial art, but it burns between 500 and 700 calories an hour. And
that's for kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
So even probably more for adults, I think, right? Because kids are, lighter and
Yeah. And when I go to another school, I don't wear my watch to track but in my school, I wear my watch, because if someone breaks it, it's on me. And if I've never hurt anyone with my watch.
Right.
But if I hurt someone, it's on my insurance. Then in the other schools, they're very defensive.
So there's a rule with that.
Yeah. But in there, I'll burn, depends on what I'm doing. If we're doing a hard workout, we're hitting almost 900 calories.
Right. Yeah.
And my goal per day is 1,200. So there's majority of my so it all depends on calories in, calories out as well.
Right,
so if I train martial arts and I burn 500 calories, we'll be conservative. And I go to McDonald's and I eat a 800 calorie hamburger. Well, then I have a surplus of 300 calories.
Right.
No matter how much I train martial arts or weights or run or whatever, I'm still going to have that extra 300 pounds of calories that's going to turn into fat or muscle, depends on what my metabolic is doing. With the metabolic rate or metabolism.
Yep. So, do you find though that once kids start, that they start eating better? Like, do you notice that? Like, well, maybe not. What it's white belt, and then it's what's next? Green, or?
White, yellow, orange, green in Taekwondo and Hapkido, and then in Taekwondo it goes from green, blue, red, black, and then Hapkido goes green, purple, brown, black.
So that's why I thought green, because I think Joanna had her green.
Yeah.
So when you start to notice like a dietary change, when all of a sudden they don't want to put crap in their body anymore because they're feeling better.
It's easier to talk to the teens and adults opposed to the tweens and the kids about this.
Yeah.
With the kids and the tweens, my main thing is cut out the sugary drinks. Water should be your main consumption of liquid that you take in.
Yep.
Your body's made up of water. Mm-hmm. If you don't
70%.
Is it 70%? So if you're dehydrated and Coca-Cola, sweet tea, all that stuff, even non-sweet tea is going to dehydrate you. It has caffeine in it. Now, with that being said, you're not going to get the coffee out of my hands. I'm going to bite you like my dog would. But for the most part, it's coffee and water are the two things I drink. So, and the water, you can be, you don't have to drink just pure tap water. You can throw lemon in it, or what I like to get the Dasani, or not Dasani, but LaCroix soda water.
I got some in there.
Yeah. And you're still hydrating.
Right.
And it's almost like a treat. You throw a lime in that.
Tastes good.
Yeah, you think you're upscale.
Sure.
So I start with the kids with that. All right, let's cut off.
Start with hydration.
Okay. And then we'll talk about snacks. Red dye number 5 in sugar is like crack for kids.
Right.
And so I tell parents, especially the kids that have ADHD, and the parents don't want to get them medicated. And I'm not for or against medication. I was a counselor for a while, and I've seen the pros and cons on both sides of that argument.
Right.
And that's totally up to the parents. With that being said, I talk to the parents about, okay, you need to get them off the red dye number 5 and the sugar, the salty foods, and we work from there. Sometimes the parents listen, sometimes the parents don't. And I have a couple students right now where we're fixing to purge our school, and you can't stay because I have one student, his technique, and he's only 7. His technique looks good, and he's getting ready for that green belt. Well, in green belt, in our Taekwondo program, we start teaching throws. And my argument on why we need to kind of purge the students that aren't mentally focused for green belt is I can kick somebody in the head, and I may or may not knock them out. It's hard to knock someone out with a kick to the head. I may punch them in the face. I may or may not knock them out. But if I take someone and I throw them, full throw, nothing hits harder than the earth. And you can really hurt somebody. So as a martial artist, there's a responsibility for that as well. You can't teach people that don't have the right attitude.
Gotcha. So he's got it. So do you think some of his nutritional habits and lack of is adding to that? Like he's just not. Yeah. Doesn't have the temperament to.
Probably a big candy eater.
Yeah. And
the parents may or may not just give it to him to shut him up, type of thing.
common.
Yeah.
Like you said, crack. I mean, it's like they have almost meltdowns if you don't.
Yeah.
You deal with some really young ones.
I do. Our youngest is 5, and our oldest is 67 right now.
Yeah, wow.
The 67-year-old, he's a teacher now, but he came from another school. The oldest I produced as a black belt. He was already a black belt when he came to me, but he tested for his black belt for me too at 65, and he did everything that the young people did to get his black belt. And it's not easy. Like we don't make it easy for them. We don't want it to be easy.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
You get through your program, you know you earned it.
Yes.
Do you teach any meditative practices, or is that kind of?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Everything is energy.
Right.
And I just had this talk with some of my jiu-jitsu friends because I threw a couple of them on my knees, which is it's easier to throw someone standing up than it is on your knees. It's easier to get in position on your knees than it is standing up because they don't have a whole lot of play on stepping back and forth because they're on their knees as well. But I threw. I forgot what the question was.
Meditation.
And so the guy was like, "Man, you threw me easy." I was like, "Well, everything's energy. I read your energy. And use your energy against them. You dictated how I was going to throw you." And so that's being the same thing with your mind. Your mind's energy. It's constantly working.
Oh boy.
If you don't slow it down, you don't take. I meditate the most going down Dunlawton Avenue, and the person behind me, the light turns green, and I take my foot off the brake to hit the gas, and they're already blowing their horn. I gotta take a deep breath. So I do teach a lot of breathing. I live by 38 rules, and rule number 1 is breathe. Life starts and ends with a breath. So it could be a meditative breath in the fact that I take a deep breath in, deep breath out, so I can just not
follow it and focus on it.
Yeah. And then we'll sit down and we'll do 5 minutes of just breathing in through your nose, out through your mouth. I live on the river, so sometimes when the no-see-ums aren't out, I'll go sit and watch the sunrise, and I'll do my breathing then, because your energy is the strongest in the morning.
Right.
And try to clear my mind, and depends on my schedule for the day, of course. But
so it's all encompassing.
Yes.
I know Joanna, my daughter, enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So, last thing, why don't you tell us a little bit how to get a hold of you, how to reach MuSool if you're taking new students, phone number and all that, how people can get a hold of you. And I'm going to put it in the notes for everybody listening too. It'll be in the notes. But I'll let Shelby tell us how to reach us, because I'm a believer. That's why I wanted Shelby on here. I really think the martial arts are a great thing. I've personally never done it. I do believe in them, and my daughter did it, and I just read a lot about it, and I think it's a great thing. So I'll let Shelby tell us how to reach him so he can help you do what you need to do.
Sure. The name of the school is MuSool Martial Arts. We're located right next door to Maxwell Fitness, 5889 South Williamson Boulevard. We're unit 1313 through 1316, so you enter in on 1316. Phone number is 386-322-0508, and our web address is MuSool, MuSool.org, MuSool.org, and you can find a lot of information, our schedule, and we have camps for kids, and then the adult training is Monday through Thursday. I teach Tuesday, Thursday, the class, and then my brown belts teach the Monday, Wednesday class.
And I'll have all these in the notes. It'll be typed up in the notes so you can pull it off, and naturally you can contact either of us and we can get you the information.
Absolutely.
So without further ado, I would like to thank our sponsor today, Jonathan and Lynn Gilden of the Gilden Group at Realty Pros. They're very, very fit, as I've said before. Great real estate agents, and podcast isn't free. They are our sponsor. They can be reached at thegildengroup.com or 386-451-2412. And until we speak again, be Max Fit and be Max Well.